First story. Wife affair just turned my life upside down 2 days ago. I, 53 started to have my suspicions, and they were confirmed yesterday, on my 27th anniversary. It is a tremendous betrayal. During this extended time, she never pulled back from her family or me, and our relationship seemed normal. We live with our adult children, 23F and 21F, are extremely close, and all of us were taken by huge surprise. She was leading a double life, and has expressed that it was simply a thrill and she wanted it all. Not something to replace the love from me and the life we created. My wife is beside herself with regret, empathy, sadness, sorrow, and fear. It hurts me to see her in such pain, and to see my children so sad to have their family falling apart, when they grew up believing, truthfully throughout their childhoods, that their parents were loving and committed. My wife is literally begging me to not leave her and my kids, while saying they understand that I may ultimately choose divorce, are asking that I not do so while emotions are so high, and that I get IC right away for my own mental health and try MC at least once. It certainly would stop the domino effect of catastrophes following my moving out and divorcing if I could work through this and try to maintain our marriage and cohesive family. But I also need to maintain my self-respect, and I have a hard time envisioning a future with my wife that doesn't involve me suppressing unbearable pain and humiliation for the rest of my life, or simply becoming numb and a shell of who I am, or was. I deserve to be loved and a partner to someone who would never consider cheating on me, which was the case for 23 or so years of my marriage. I am being civil and caring to my wife now, and those feelings are genuine. But I can't be romantic, soothing, or her rock or comfort in this mess she created. Nor can I take comfort from her, the person who has given me the worst pain I've ever experienced, when she was supposed to be the one person who I could always rely on. So I am moving into another room, and will try to figure out the future and take a little time to do this in a way that won't be financially ruinous. I am lost as to how to pick up the pieces of my life and try to regain some happiness. I know there is much to be done logistically, but I would like some advice on what I can do for my mental and social health, so that I don't sit around and sulk or simply face a future, at least in the short term, of loneliness. For the sake of my children and future grandchildren, and the friendship we have outside of romantic partnership, maybe there is some platonic relationship that can continue into the future. In the meantime, I hope living like roommates will not be more than I can bear. She has ended things with the other man, and seems fully committed to restoring our lives together. But I can't see beyond feeling that this is too little, too late, and know that this living situation should be temporary. I just hate having to upend my kids' living situation. Please don't reply with comments stating the obvious about my wife's behavior. That's going to just make me feel worse. Feel free to DM advice if you like. Thank you. Second story. Should I stay or should I go? She, 43F, cheated on me, 32M, after an almost 3-year relationship, and swears as much as she can without being able to control the future. She knows she'll never do it again. She's doing everything in her power to prove to me that she will do right by me, and that she really feels like she fucked up. She's started therapy, she's reading articles on infidelity, talking to people on forums to better understand how she's affected me, and everyone in her life, and why she did this. She's gotten a new job away from AP and has cut all contact with him. It started as an emotional affair that I felt went on for months. There were a couple times where I literally cried in front of her, telling her that their relationship made me uncomfortable, but she wanted us both in her life, and so we agreed. Looking back, I know that I didn't agree. That her friendship outweighed my anxieties and discomfort. Then they hooked up. Only 3 encounters while we were together, as far as she's told me. We had no sex, but she definitely got off one way or another, which makes me queasy. And then she slept on the couch, I think. I didn't know for 2 months. She finally told me when my anxiety had hit a peak, and she trickle-truthed me for what felt like weeks. I don't remember if it was that long. Of course I didn't know. I'm pretty sure I'd been gaslit for so long that every time I had a gut feeling that things had changed or progressed between them, it was chalked up, by both of us, to me being anxious and dramatic and a jealous partner who needs to work on himself to fix these feelings. My reality felt like it had been skewed. It can be hard to stay present when I'm around her now. I don't trust her, I guess, obviously. And there is nothing, I repeat, nothing that excuses her actions in my eyes, but I cannot help but consider our collective mental health. We've both had veils pulled from our eyes, so to speak, since starting therapy. For her it was regarding her own emotional processing. Turns out she didn't do much of it. Turns out I don't do much of it either. For me, what has stuck out most is my almost self-inflicted lack of autonomy and ability to self-regulate. The affair took place in the depths of each of us almost having separate spirals, and when neither of us were being very good partners. And now that we are able to reflect more and are in control, have more autonomy, not living together, the truth is out, etc., it feels good to take that into account. I think I lost my train of thought a bit here. Here I am almost defending this girl after what she did. I have been suicidal, depressed, anxious, horny, angry, drunk, high, confident, cocky, stupid, and everything else under the sun. And not once have I been tempted to cheat, or even gotten close to doing so, because without ever having experienced it before, I could feel how devastating it would be. I didn't realize until I had the brackets come from a lack of trust I still have in her. I'm working on it. Truth that I had in fact been manipulated and controlled. Not in an aggressive way, it was quite far from that actually. Constant reassurances were what made me feel the most like I was batshit. I couldn't figure out why I kept wanting to say I'm going crazy until I realized they were making me crazy by lying and fucking around and not giving a shit in the process. We have 2 pets together. They live with me now, but one just died. That brought us closer together, but it was sad that the only person who I felt really understood me was the same person that betrayed my trust and made me feel more pain and confusion than I've felt so far in my life. We lived together. I moved out when I found out about the affair. I helped her move out about a month later when no one else could. After the breakup that brought us closer together before then getting back together, I cannot tell if this approach of therapy and open, honest communication is a mature route, and that my feelings will level out as more time passes. We have only tried getting back together for 3 months, or if it is delusional and I am trauma bonding to this woman. Stockholm syndroming myself to someone who was so comfortable with ignorant to my suffering and my feelings, and I'm just afraid to be alone. I feel like I have just discovered that I have a ton of work to do on myself, and what if doing that at the pace that I want to means I don't have energy left for this relationship? I am proud of myself for trying to make this work, but I feel like I deserve someone who would have never done this in the first place. Is that a stupid thing to ask? Sometimes I feel like I know this is the wrong thing to do, to stay with her, but it's almost like I can't let her go. Or in a smaller way, that it's unfair to give up on my best friend and partner after one mistake and 3 years of memories. But I don't trust her. I love her so much and I really would rather not be without her. She is my best friend. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to put the work it required to fix everything. I don't know if I can, even though sometimes I do think I want to, because I am so exhausted already and intimidated by what's to come. I don't know what to do. Sometimes I hate her so much. Sometimes I am so numb to her it makes me want to just off myself. I hate listening to myself open up to her every time I get triggered. I hate that I am taking a risk in being with her, even though it is my decision. I hate that he tells me she will be understanding no matter what my decision is. I want to be mad, but I can't without thinking of her feelings. and how hard it must be for her to have me bring up her mistake every few days when we re-entered this relationship with the promise to advocate for it and look for the positive. There's a big part of me that thinks if I have this much anger, I should probably just leave. But I don't want to be without her. I literally find so much joy in just being around her. I hate this. I hate how complicated relationships are and that I wasn't better prepared, if that's even a possible thing to do. I hate that this is such a struggle. The feeling of being ripped down the middle is the most brain-numbing feeling ever, so tiring. Is the fact that I am struggling a sign in itself that I should let go? Please be brutally honest and give me any and all thoughts. I know no one can make this decision but me, but I could really use a helping hand and some perspectives from non-family friend. PLS ask for more context questions. I wrote this in a bit of a hurry so I don't know how coherent it is. Third story. I ghosted a cheating ex-wife. Years later, I married my child's nanny, and now I am a statistic and a trope. But I am so happy. I really struggled about making this post because my divorce is still a great source of anger at times. Not much as it used to be, but it really triggers my negative brain. But my therapist told me that it helps to write a journal. My ex-wife and I had a 2-year relationship. We had our son before we married, and I tried really hard to be a good husband and a father. Starting as an introvert meant that I really had to start from scratch. But I can honestly say I did my best to learn. My ex and I were total opposites, and maybe opposites attracted in the beginning, but then we started to butt heads a lot. My ex-wife, I learned, hated to compromise and would use bullying and gaslighting tactics to get her way. She was a spender and wanted to splurge on things because she thought that she deserved it. Looking bad, she wasn't really a good mom or wife. She was very self-centered and spent more time on her phone than with me or my son. I took care of everything, including my son's hospital and etc. And she didn't want any more responsibility. While I was being burnt out from all the work and responsibilities, the last straw was when she was cheating on me with her ex. Both of us knew that infidelity was not acceptable from the beginning and a deal breaker. As soon as I learned, I knew that I needed to leave or start a fight. So I carefully planned how I was going to leave. I found a house to rent 2 hours away from where we were. I work remotely, so that wasn't an issue. Removed myself from the apartment lease and all of the utilities, removed myself from the joint account that we had, and moved while my wife went to leave for some facial therapy. Before I left with her divorce papers with copies of evidence that I also sent to her family members, exactly at the same time the moving company and I left our old apartment. I blocked her on everything I could. Basically, I left everything in 6 hours. After I moved everything into my new place, I was bombarded by texts and calls from her side of the family. Mostly I got apologies from her cousins since they knew from the beginning what might happen. Her mom apologized a lot, saying that she didn't raise her daughter well, and both her and my ex's aunt begged me to reconsider the divorce. Then I started getting messages of threats and insults from my ex at a different number. I just kept blocking those, but it got so bad that I just got a new phone. The divorce was slightly rough because of my ex. My ex tried to say that I kidnapped my son and tried to sue me. But I presented all the facts, that I was the one solely responsible for everything at home and for our son's health, speech therapy, etc. The judge was surprisingly understanding and said that since I was the primary care provider for my son, he dismissed my ex's claim. And then I present all of the evidence of my ex's infidelity, including all the money she spent. I even got the AP to confess. Long story short, the AP still lived with his parents, and I threatened to sue him for alienation of affection unless he confessed. It was a long shot TBH, but he caved in. Because of all the evidence, I was given almost all of my money. I just had to pay my ex a little bit of alimony for a year since she quit her work, and during custody, I was rewarded primary custody with my ex getting supervised visitation. She only got that because of all the threatening messages that she sent me. She literally shot herself in the foot. It was so bad for her because I now live 2 hours away from her by car and she couldn't drive. So she didn't even visit my son for months until she got her cousin to drive her. I really realized how bad it was only until after I started living by myself and my son. I felt like a huge weight was off of my shoulders and I felt at peace with myself. So I decided to make best of this change. I still worked at home, and because of my son's autism, I was able to get a care provider to care for my son and get an ABA therapist to help his therapy at home. It was so much better that I can't describe in words. My ex shifted tactics after a few months of seeing my son, saying that she regretted her actions and wanted to be a better person for me and my son. But I wasn't having it. One time she came with her luggage and tried to move in, but I refused and called the cops. Everything from gaslighting to crying and everything to get her way again. So I told her to never come back. I even got the judge to deny her visitation since she tried to force her way into moving in a few times. She then started love bombing me with texts. She even got her mom and aunt to help her. But since that was still with my old phone, I just ended up giving it up to a cell phone disposal for a chunk of change. Then about one school year passed, and my son's care provider and I got really close. She was very sweet and gentle, so much different my ex. She was so helpful and thoughtful, and so positive. But she was 11 years younger than me. Back then I was 30 and she was 19, going to nursing school. So I didn't make any advances. But one day, when my son was down for his nap, she cooked for me a wonderful meal and we ate together. And she confessed being attracted to me. She told me that she wanted to date me for real. I initially thought that it wasn't going to be that smooth since respite care providers have rules about fraternization and getting close with clients, and the age gap was certainly an issue. But she said that she would quit her provider work if she had to. I told her I needed time to think and process. My divorce really had shattered my desire to date anyone, but I was so attracted to her. So I told her that I would like to do this slowly and properly. And 4 years of dating and her graduating and becoming a full-time nurse, we tied the knot. I learned from my past mistakes and decided to be a much better husband to her. And thanks to her vivaciousness, that wasn't hard to do. My son even calls her now. In fact, the first time he did that was when I knew that I had to marry her. And I admit I took the relationship very slowly because I wanted to be careful. Strangely enough, I am still close with my ex's cousins. They are all old school, and while they care for my ex, they respect me even more and always ask about my son and how I am doing. All of them are either firefighters and military, so they don't play. They even invite my family and I to vacation with them. And now the sore portion that still makes me angry, my ex. She somehow found out my wife a few years back and confronted her at her freaking nurse school. That really scared my now wife, and I nearly punched her when I came to break up the situation. My now wife and I filed more restraining orders against her. And now my ex is now not allowed to be anywhere near my family, even our son. She can only video chat with him now, or have supervised visitation in a place of our choosing. After our divorce finalized, she returned back to work and got herself living alone. Over the years, she tried to get her cousins to convince me to help her, but they just straight up refused. Even her mom and aunt gave her up. Our last talk with each other, she told me what she could have done to gotten me back, and I jokingly said that she would have to join the military to learn some discipline. And she actually did join, only to be kicked out for some disciplinary reason or something. Now she is just passive-aggressive, posting on social media about forgiveness, second chances, and how modern women are victims. And some of her followers actually believe her lies. My currently wife told me not to worry about it. She is so kind and understanding, knowing that I have so many trust issues and such. We are planning to have our first child together soon, and I want to do things better this time. I guess the moral of the story that I want to tell every betrayed man is there is always someone who will love and respect you more than your current spouse. Don't settle for anything less. Fourth story. I don't know what to do. My wife had an emotional affair with her coworker. A lot of insults thrown towards me, and just things I haven't been able to forget. She claims it was only going on for a month, but I don't trust her. These past few months have been complete hell for me. From taking her beatings and then finding out about the affair, it's just too much. I had enough and kicked her out. She used to threaten to commit suicide to get her way, but now she doesn't. All she wants is to come back. Before I found out about the affair, she told me I wasn't giving her any attention. I tried my best to put an effort into the relationship after that, but she just disrespected and abused me for too long. And today she recommended couples therapy in hopes of me agreeing, but my mind is nearly set on divorce. Thing is, we have a daughter and I am putting her first. I'm not even sure on how divorce will work. I've been busy with looking at daycares, more than good divorce attorneys. I don't know where I'm even going with this. My wife did a lot of wrong things, and I don't think I could forgive her for what she did. Would marriage counseling even be a good idea? After what she's done. Sunday, I was forced to go to a party with her, and we had to act like a normal couple. Despite me lashing out on her in the car, she seemed remorseful. Honestly, I just don't have anyone to talk to about this issue. Any issue in general. My in-laws are on my side, but they asked me not to make her infidelity public. I don't really even have friends anymore, so I could just hear some thoughts on a public forum. Update. Possibility of my daughter not being mine, but my STBXW could just be lying for attention. I don't know anymore. I've posted here before. Spoke about my soon-to-be ex-wife's emotional affair, and asked for advice on how to move forward from there. So since then, things have been not the best. We have a daughter, or at least I think we do. There's a lot I need to get out and I'll try to make it clear as possible. I tried to simply keep as little contact with my STBXW as possible. I didn't want her near my house, so I would drop her things at her parents' house, the place where she lives now. I didn't block her number, but I did mute her messages. On her side of the family, I really only keep in contact with her older sister, who knows everything, and her father, only because of my daughter. Her sister keeps me updated on almost everything about my STBXW. I really only want updates because I don't want to know she doesn't try to attempt suicide again. There's that, and then there's the part where I decided to read all the messages she sent me. It's been a month and a half, I think, since I found out, and she's still apologizing, insulting me, and admitting her emotional affair wasn't emotional. Now for the recent messages, anyone could tell she was much angrier, and she claims I could be taking care of someone else's kid. I ordered a paternity test from Amazon. Now I didn't text her back because 1. I have a feeling she's lying too. She told me she'd never been in a relationship before when we first started dating. 3. I am too in shock to really do anything. What I want to do is go see her in person and shout questions. Demand answers. Honestly, the paternity of my daughter isn't the biggest issue. My daughter and I share a lot of similarities, but what my wife said definitely just killed something in me. Either way, this is the girl I've taken care of since her birth, so I'll be stuck with her until I die. If she isn't biologically related to me, then I'll still raise her, but isn't knowing who the biological father is important? Simply for possible medical reasons. I'm hoping my STBXW was lying just for attention. I won't lie, shortly after I read those texts I saw my daughter as a stranger. I hate myself for it, and my daughter doesn't deserve anything like this.